Hey everybody, Spegtacular, the Silverstacular. I recently went to a big auction where they had a bunch of shipwreck and treasure coins and other really fascinating parts of numismatic history, and I thought that I would just show those pieces with you on this video briefly. But I tell you what, that is one part of our hobby where I just find so much interest with. And oftentimes, as a collector, we wonder where a piece has been before it finds a way into our collection, right? We're have that fascination and it allures us, where has this coin been? And when it comes to stuff like shipwreck coins, we know at least one place in history where that coin has been, and it just helps our mind just become so much more just interested in these pieces. Shipwreck pieces are so neat. Now, oftentimes you get a coin that is definitely jacked up in condition. They don't look as pretty as the day they were minted. There's some, damage that comes from being in salt water in some cases, or in the wreck itself, the process of the ship wrecking, that causes some damage to the coin. But that's all characteristics now of where that coin has been and makes it so interesting. So on the screen, I have different coins. Right here, you see a coin from the Etosha, which is a big, huge shipwreck found by Mel Fisher, I believe in the early 80s. You have the 1715 fleet that's coming on screen now. Gold, 8 escudos from there. Beautiful pieces of history. And this is actually American history, which I find even more fascinating. So if you are a collector of American coinage, look no further than original Spanish coins that were in America prior to any United States coins being even a thought. So there's a lot of history here for that stuff. You can see a clump, which oftentimes fascinates collectors just because, hey, this is how it was obtained mostly when it was obtained out of the water. This is the condition it was in. So this is fun stuff. I believe early on in the video, there was a piece from the Golden Fleece shipwreck, which is interesting because that is one of the few actual pirate ships where you can get treasures from, silver and gold and other artifacts. So a lot of people think that, just all these ships are pirate ships, but most of them are merchant ships or other ships like that doing business and trades with other countries, or with the intention of bringing silver or gold back to Spain, for trying to build the wealth in Spain after mining all this gold and silver in America and South America. So this was stuff that, was tried to go back over to the homeland of Spain and never made it because of hurricanes and other disasters. So it's very interesting. Here's actually some X-Cash right there in that big clump. This is a piece, I believe, from the Etosha wreck, I believe. Fascinating. Or maybe this might actually be... It's hard to remember everything. That might actually be a 1715 fleet piece with an emerald in there, which is unusual to find that. More interesting pieces. You always see these pieces in bezels, and you walk around. Sometimes you'll see somebody with one of these on their necklaces, and you just go, "Hey, where did you get that? 8 real or whatever you got the escudos on your pendant there." Fun stuff. Here's some chop marks, and which is fascinating because at one point they called this damage to the coin, and now people find this to be a characteristic of where this coin has been. And that goes back to my earlier point of fascination of where the coin has been. Here we go with a piece from the 1715 fleet. This is actually a sword guard. So this would be the guard part. And you can see how just embossed and ornate that piece is on the one side there. A lot of history. And that was just sunk in the water for hundreds of years before somebody was able to pick this up and discover this. A lot of cool stuff here. But yeah, tell me down below in the comments if you're interested in the shipwreck stuff. Oftentimes it can be expensive. There are some shipwrecks that are a little bit more budget friendly, but typically you're going to need a couple $100s if you're going to be interested in shipwreck pieces that are authentic. And that's also important too. Just like anything else in our hobby, there's lots of fakes out there. You want to make sure that you're buying from reputable sources, and you're buying stuff that can be authenticated. And a lot of times you want to buy with certificates from the original salvers that were actually out there getting this stuff. Oh, this is a beautiful piece of pottery that you can see has coral and other things growing on it. I believe there's a clam that was on the inside. Very interesting. But this is a piece from that pirate ship, the Golden Fleece. And there you go. History in my hand right here. And I'll actually show you some of the pieces that I have in my collection too, and I'll talk about them briefly. But again, back in the comments, please leave me a message. If you got anything interesting from Shipwrecks, or if you find them interesting, just leave me a comment down below. All right, here are some of my personal artifacts that I have in my collection, and I'm very fascinated with this stuff. Some of the stuff you might have seen in other videos, so if you want to go back and see the full video on these things, you can go back through the archives of my videos, which are, you know, thousands of videos by now, or just enjoy them on this video. That'd be great too. But here we go with a piece from the 1715 fleet. This is an oversized holder, and this is a sea salvaged piece, which is oftentimes what you'll get these shipwreck pieces, because they were literally sea salvaged. They were found out to sea, and they were picked up by a salver and put in the hands of people like you and I that love this stuff. So you can see that the wear and tear has happened to these pieces. These reals were oftentimes very just, let's call it, quickly struck. The intention was to bring them back to Spain, and just to kind of get the, you know, Spanish name and symbolism on the coin to bring back to Spain. But, you know, oftentimes because of hurricanes and other, you know, mishaps, it didn't quite make it. And this is the case for the 1715 fleet, where many ships were sunk due to a hurricane. And let's see, what else do I got here? Oh, I have clumps. I love the clumps. It's just so interesting to see the condition that these things were in the water, and they were brought out, and you get them in that condition. So you can see just very minimally the shield right here, the crest of Spain, where you would see the symbolism, but it's mostly just kind of wiped away. Who knows what was on that piece right there. A lot of times when they get these out of the water, they'll try to clean them up a little bit so that you can see some of the coin, and you can still see some of the, you know, the coral and the other things that have grown over top of the pieces throughout the years of them being underwater. So unfortunately, some of this right here, this wiping away, could have very well been the salvers, you know, trying to clean it up enough to identify that it was a coin, and it was not just covered with all this stuff originally. So it is what it is. I mean, that's part of the process of getting it out and allowing us to see it. You know, it's a careful process, but it does kind of wipe away some of the coin sometimes. Here is a really cool clump of all sorts of 4 reals, 8 reals. There's all kinds of stuff in this thing right here. And if you're wondering, it's extremely heavy. It's a lot of silver. Hey, with silver coming up right now to the price it is, I mean, this might be worth about $1,000 in silver. This is not bad, right? I might have to consider selling this at this point, especially if it's worth that kind of money. So you can see just all the pieces of history just stuck. In some cases, some of the coins, they do show a date, which is always fun. You always want to see dates on coins. So there you go. Bunch of history right here. Little seashells and all kinds of stuff stuck in there. Look at that, huh? Wild. Wild. All right, there's that. Again, very heavy, leaving a mess. We got right here another clump. This looks like 3 8 reals, and there they are. Reals are going to be the silver, and escudos will be the gold. So if you can remember those two things, you pretty much have solved the problem of what is silver and what is gold when it comes to these old Spanish coins. So reals, silver, gold, escudos. There you go. There's 3 of them right there stuck on a clump. This is a piece right here that is actually a 4 real that is stuck, all covered up in some sort of coral. And it's definitely a 4 real. A lot of times they'll use like a metal detector to identify that there is something in those rocks, and then they go down and they find this stuff and they go, okay, it's not just iron or whatever, it's actually some silver coinage. But usually they're looking for iron, and then iron will say that there was a shipwreck there, and then finding those coins is you know, the beauty of going down there in the first place with a metal detector. Here is a piece, and I went through a video a while back to explain this entire piece and where it came from. Very cool piece of history, and I highly recommend finding that video in the archives, because I talk about this shipwreck exclusively in that video. But it's cool to see the 8 real, the pillar dollar right there, attached to the piece with a silver fork. And then I have a 2 escudos, or a doubloon right here, and this is from the 1715 fleet. Very expensive pieces when you find these in gold. But there you go. And now I'm going to clean my desk off because I have some sand, which is not these pieces falling apart. It's actually because I put these pieces in sand in like a little display just for the fun of seeing them in sand still. But there you go. There's some pieces of my shipwreck collection. Again, leave me in comments down below. Fascinated with this stuff, this part of the hobby. Let me know about your collection or if you're just fascinated by them. If you want to know some entry points of where to get into this stuff right here without breaking the bank, I can definitely help you with that and some ideas of how to get involved in shipwreck history without totally ruining your bank account. You can get into some cheaper coins for sure. That's not going to be thousands of dollars. Might be $100 or two for sure. It's not the cheapest thing in the world, but the fact that you have this shipwreck history in your collection is just so much fun. I gotta go. Spegtacular is out. Well, hello everybody. I seek to educate and entertain through my journey of collecting coins and stacking precious metals. I encourage you to subscribe and please stay with me on this journey. I am Spegtacular, the Silver Stacular. When I was a kid, we did this every day in school, and I believe we need to bring this back a little bit, and I'm going to start right now. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.